right, folks, what's up? This is your breakdown of UFC Fight Night. The annual September tournament just wrapped up, headlined by the Mexican-Brazilian dynamo Diego Lopes and the battle botanist Silva. In the co-main event, we had Rob Font and David Martinez. And beyond them, some familiar names graced the Octagon: Tatiana Suarez, Amanda Lemos, Alex Hernandez, Diego Ferreira, and Daniil Danchenko. How did all these fighters perform? It's time to find out. Let's go. The Season 33 Tough finale was supposed to happen a month ago, but it got bumped to tonight's event due to an injury to Rodrigo Cezinando. The 27-year-old Brazilian boasts 7 of his 8 pro wins by stoppage, but in tough, both of his bouts went the distance, one by decision. His opponent, the 24-year-old Ukrainian Daniil Danchenko. Danchenko has experience in leagues like ONE, NISA, and Way Warriors. In his tough semifinal, he delivered a first-round KO. Both fighters came out swinging, absolutely teeing off on each other like there was no tomorrow. Danchenko landed a precise counter elbow, opening up a nasty cut on his opponent, but his foe didn't back down, landing a couple of wide looping shots to Daniil's head. Yet Danchenko was relentless. No breaks, just constant pressure and attacks. By the end of the round, he was still firing on all cylinders, but his opponent's gas tank was clearly fading. As the round closed, he was shelled against the cage, went into a deep shell, and was just battered until the referee stepped in. Danchenko wins the tough finale and gets that guaranteed UFC contract. Montserrat Arendon has only had 2 fights in the UFC, dropping her last one to Daria Jeleznikova. Interestingly, all 7 of her professional fights have gone the distance. Alice Pereira became the youngest woman to sign with the UFC. The Brazilian is only 19 years old, holding a pristine 5-0 record. The age difference between these 2 women? A whopping 17 years, just slightly less than Alice's own age. These ladies went the full 3 rounds. In the first, Alice Pereira looked sharp. She was working off the back foot, outstriking her opponent. The Mexican couldn't seem to find a way to close the distance on the young prodigy. But rounds 2 and 3, a completely different story. Rendon found the key, mixing in some grappling, but most importantly, in the stand-up, she managed to close the distance and land her shots. It was like Alice was a different fighter. After a brilliant first round, the second and third were just flat. The result, a split decision victory for Rendon. I agree with the decision, but that 30-27 scorecard in her favor, that's a bit of a stretch. Alexander Costa has had a mixed bag in the UFC, but his last fight ended with a first-round knockout. He often gets the finish, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. His original opponent was supposed to be Edgar Chairos, but he pulled out due to injury. Stepping in on short notice is the debutant Olden Correa, who's put together a solid 5-2 record in the LO-FE League. How will this newcomer fare? Let's find out. Alexander Costa suffered a pinky finger injury late in the first round. The result? Coming out for the second, he was already limping, quickly got pressed against the fence, and without even taking a strike, went into a deep defense, losing the fight. Olden Correa wins by TKO in the second round. But to be fair, he was winning the first 5 minutes even before the injury. Zachary Reese fought his way into the UFC through the Contender Series, snagging a first-round finish. In the UFC, his record is 3-2, not the best, but he did manage to beat Dusko Todorovic in his last bout. Kedrick Dumas mentioned he only had $13 left in his bank account, and things haven't been smooth sailing in the UFC either, with a 3-3 record and a first-round loss to Alexiejczuk in his last fight. So this is a case where a win isn't just important, it's about survival. Right at the start of the fight, Zachary Reese landed a blistering low blow right to Dumas's groin. He went down and couldn't get up for 5 minutes. Was he faking it or not? Fan opinions were split. But the outcome is a no contest. The fight never really happened. And it lasted a moment. Such is life. Jesus Aguilar is one of 5 Mexicans fighting tonight. He was recently on a 3-fight win streak, but in February he fell to the tough Rafael Estevan. His opponent, Luis Garule, has only had 1 fight in the UFC, losing immediately by knockout. Before that, he was undefeated. This is his chance to redeem himself after a disappointing debut. These warriors went all 3 rounds. Aguilar generally outstruck Garule and was better in the grappling, though there wasn't much of it. He was simply a step ahead in every aspect, which earned him a unanimous decision victory. Tatiana Suarez tried her hand at a title fight against Weili Zhang, but couldn't snatch the belt. Before her last fight, the American had a perfect 10-0 record, with all her wins coming in dominant fashion. Amanda Lemos has experience in the UFC, but for the past 2 years, she's been alternating wins and losses since her title fight defeat. For both of these women, this fight is a chance to get back into the title picture. These ladies went the distance. Lemos had an excellent start to the fight and a strong finish. In both instances, she landed some great shots, especially at the end. It even looked like she might get a finish, but couldn't quite seal the deal. The problem is, for the other 70% of the fight, Tatiana was stifling the action. Some grappling, some cage control, and she controlled her way to a unanimous decision victory. Plácido Puelles is a master of groundwork. He's earned 4 career wins by knee bar, 2 of them in the UFC. If Hakeem Silva wins, he always does it spectacularly. He knows how to put people to sleep. Now he's 36 years old and his last fight was over a year ago. Let's see whose hand will be raised. Round 1. Puelles quickly secured a takedown, ended up in half guard on the ground, couldn't improve his position, and started working with strikes from guard. The Brazilian tried to get up, but Claudio confidently controlled him, taking the first 5 minutes, 1-0 Puelles. Second round, Puelles quickly gets another takedown, and it seems clear. He's significantly better in grappling. The outcome of the fight is obvious. But no, the Brazilian gets up and does not allow himself to be taken down again. He's working well in the stand-up, landing a front kick to Puelles' body and even attempted a guillotine at the end. Not enough time. A good round from Silva. Third 5 minutes, Puelles' maximum effort was passive cage control, but Hakeem in the final moments dropped him with a knockdown, but didn't have enough time to finish. And overall, he outstruck the Peruvian in the 3rd round, earning a hard-fought, fair split decision victory, with rounds 2 and 3 going his way. Jose Medina lost to Magomed Gaji Sulanov and the Contender Series, but still got a contract with the league. But even here, things haven't gone well. 2 losses in the UFC already. This fight against Todorovic might be his last chance. Serp, like Medina, is on a 3-fight losing streak, but all 3 of his UFC wins came by knockout no later than the 2nd round. For these guys tonight, it's literally a fight for their contract. Duško Todorovic proved to be stronger both physically and in the striking department, confidently outworking Medina, and in the end, he even choked him out on the ground in the very first round. This is Todorovic's first submission finish since 2017. He outclassed him in every aspect and won by submission in the first round. Santiago Luna got his shot in the UFC after a card shuffle, leaving Quang Ali without an opponent. Luna is only 21 years old with a pristine 6-0 record and a 100% finish rate, 3 of those in the first round. This is his chance to make a statement. Quang Li came to the UFC undefeated but has lost 2 fights here, and tonight was definitely going to be tough for him. Luna is 12 years younger. Luna absolutely ran through his opponent right off the bat. A knockout early in the fight, pinned him against the cage, unleashed a flurry of strikes. The stoppage. What a spectacular debut for the young prospect. Alexander Hernandez returns to the cage just a month after his last fight. He brutally knocked out Chase Hooper and is now on a 3-fight win streak. He's been in the UFC since 2018, but he's never had a win streak like this.
Diego Ferreira is already 40 years old, but he can still give Hernandez a fight. Yes, he lost his last bout, but before that, he had 2 consecutive knockouts. Diego Ferreira, at 40 years old, started the fight brilliantly, and for about half the fight, he was outworking the younger Hernandez, confidently on his way to a decision victory. But in the middle of the fight, Hernandez landed a counter shot, dropped Diego with a knockdown, and then unleashed a long and brutal ground-and-pound assault. Long because the referee absolutely refused to stop it, even though it should have been halted 10 punches earlier. Alex Hernandez by knockout in the second round. Kelvin Gastelum missed weight by over 2 kilograms and will forfeit 35% of his purse to his opponent. And despite being a modest 33 years old for a middleweight, he's already had 24 fights in the UFC, but in the last 2 years, only 2 wins and 2 losses. Dustin Stoltzfus knows how to win spectacularly. He's earned a bonus for 2 of his 3 wins, but he already has 6 losses in the UFC, and the next one could be his last in the promotion. What a war these two put on. Literally, in every round, each fighter could have finished the fight early multiple times. One moment Gastelum is rocked, the next Stoltzfus is. One moment one is choked, then the other. You know, it's usually tough to recap a boring fight. You just say who won in a couple of words. Well, here, it's hard to describe everything that happened within those 3 rounds. Definitely recommend watching it, but a step ahead in this chaos was Kelvin Gastelum. A knockdown, several stumbles, just unlucky not to get the finish, Stoltzfus quickly adapted on the ground. Gastelum takes a well-deserved unanimous decision victory. Rafa Garcia, after 2 losses at the start of his UFC run, managed to turn things around. However, he rarely wins by stoppage and already has 4 losses in the league to go with 5 wins. Jared Gordon is a very experienced athlete who never quite makes it into the rankings. His last 2 wins came by first-round knockout. Both times he managed to land a clean right hand and finish his opponent. The first 2 rounds, Gordon confidently outstruck Garcia. Rafa's only real threat was a dangerous guillotine, but in the stand-up, he was letting strike after strike through. But before the 3rd round, his corner delivered such a motivating speech, and Rafa came out for the final round absolutely fired up. He immediately pushed forward, landed a shot, and the fight completely changed. Now it was Rafa breaking down Gordon, and at the end of the round, he sent him down with a brutal knockdown. On the ground, he almost choked him out, but ultimately pounded him with elbows until the referee stepped in. Rafa Garcia makes a comeback and wins by stoppage right at the very end of the fight. The main event of the evening. Rob Font was supposed to face Raul Rosas, but he pulled out due to injury. His opponent became David Martinez, who is also preparing to fight at this event. For Font, this is the 2nd time in a year an opponent has fallen out. Last time he had to fight the young and dangerous Gene Matsumoto, and surprisingly, he defeated him over 3 rounds. Martinez debuted this March, scoring a first-round knockout. He's on an 8-fight win streak, 6 of which are by knockout. Rob Font started the fight brilliantly, outstriking the younger fighter, but with each passing minute, David grew more and more comfortable. After giving up the first round, he worked confidently in the second, and in the third, he almost finished Font. There just wasn't enough time. The bell rang, but everything was set for a stoppage. Literally 10 seconds were all that was needed. David Martinez wins by unanimous decision. The main event of the evening. Diego Lopes burst into the UFC with a bang on short notice, giving a tough fight to the #1 contender Movsar Evloev, then racked up 5 straight wins, and in less than 2 years reached a title shot. He lost to Alex Volkanovski by decision this April. Jean Silva, his opponent, remains the only battle botanist who hasn't lost in the UFC. He has 5 wins in the top promotion, all by stoppage. He hasn't lost in 13 fights. Tonight is his chance to break into the top 3 and become the best botanist in the UFC. Diego Lopes took the Brazilian down, and for 3 minutes from mount, he rained down strikes. He was active and effective. He inflicted a tremendous amount of damage. Hammer fists, elbows, everything was flying. Silva bravely endured such a critical moment and managed to get up, but he lost the round decisively, 10-8. Second 5 minutes, Jean Silva confidently started outstriking Lopes. He was hitting him so hard his head was snapping back, but Diego was landing too, although it looked lackluster compared to Silva. And then, Silva, getting carried away, rushed forward, but Diego threw a spinning elbow and dropped Silva with a knockdown, then immediately finished him. Stoppage. Diego Lopes wins by knockout at the end of the second round. What a spectacular fight and simply a magnificent performance by Diego Lopes. Smash that like button. Let me know who shined the brightest tonight. See you next time. Peace out.